Say It Loud Network and Mino Lion Media presents Business First.
Hi all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia Aline. I am your host, and today we are going to unpack the P word. Yes, pivot. Pivot was probably the most used business word in 2020 for obvious reasons. And even as we are wrapping up the first quarter of 2021, it is a word that everyone is still focused on. And so what's interesting with these new business terms is that we can embrace the term or the word, but sometimes we don't really embrace the meaning. And so, it's my thoughts that everyone who had a business during this pandemic thought that they had to pivot. And what's really important is for people to understand the value that their business is bringing to the marketplace, and then determining whether that value is actually serving the marketplace in the right way. And so to talk a little bit more about value and what it really means to pivot and to change the direction of your business, I have a dear friend here with me. And before we turn on his mic, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Maximillian Hamilton. Is the CEO and founder of Rogue Media Group. Max has a long history in developing sales and marketing strategies in a wide range of areas, from traditional and digital media to event production. He was the director of advertising for the Network Journal and the director of multimedia sales at Black Enterprise, where I met him and we became friends, before launching his own company, Rogue Media Group, which offers unique, dynamic, and diverse brand experiences for their clients. Max is also an Air Force veteran, and I'm happy that he is here without his uniform. You all don't get to see him, but he's here. We're happy to have you. Welcome, Max.
Thank you, Sonia.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad I'm not wearing my uniform because it doesn't fit.
It's okay. You gained, that was the COVID-20. Did you go, or the COVID-19? Did you gain that?
COVID 18, 17, 16, 15. So, but I'm so happy to be here. It's an honor to be on your podcast. Thank you very much. For the record, it's my very first podcast.
Wow.
So bear with me if I spit too much knowledge.
No, we're hoping you're going to spit a lot of knowledge. I'm happy to bring this conversation to the public because we've had a lot of dynamic business conversations about my business, about your business, about how people are conducting business in general. And so we've also talked about this word, pivot, which the traditional meaning for pivot means to either turn or to rotate. But for business purposes, it means really to change the strategy. And so you and your business, being the head of Rogue Media Group, have watched in all of your partnerships, you've watched a lot of businesses change, pivot, offer new strategies, or in some cases, right? Because I think we believe that everyone had to pivot. And so some people did have to change their strategy, but other people really just had to solidify what they were already doing, strengthen what they were already doing. And so what have you been seeing in the last year and a half, or the last year, really, in terms of how businesses are choosing to change or not to change, but at the end of the day, really focusing on how to serve the marketplace in a strong way?
Very good question. I'm going to start off by saying a quote of a statement you made. People don't get paid for their time. They get paid for their value. And when you create value for your customers, no amount of pandemic will ruin you. So one of the things that we experienced as a company through the pandemic, because we have over the past 20 years created value for our clients, was during the pandemic, we were paused. We weren't deleted. So we basically continue to be a resource to our clients, whether it's just making sure their health and wellness was okay, constantly provide them with market updates, and just be ready to go at the drop of a dime based on creating new products and ideas. We had anticipated that things were going to change, especially from an events perspective, that things was going virtual, because virtual was already there. It wasn't popular. For example, Zoom been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. WebEx, but people just never use them on a regular basis for the events. They were used for conference calls and in-house corporate meetings, but never on a grand scale. So we begin from the get-go. We knew it was coming. So we begin to do research. But we also look at what other products and services we can offer our clients, not just for us, but to help them make the transition a lot easier. We knew that from a workforce standpoint, a lot of recruits would not be onboarded the traditional way. So we begin to provide outsourcing consulting how to onboard most recent college grads. And again, offering new opportunities for customers that's still in our wheelhouse. We just expand upon what we did on a new face perspective. So, but even so, back in 2013 when we started, we are constantly pivoting our business every 3 months. We're learning new ideas, new opportunities, new angles. It wasn't new for us to pivot because we were doing it in our business practice. Every 3 months, we're looking ways, how can we better enhance what we do for our customers, new ideas, new products that's still in line with our core business strategy. And that way, when anything happens, we're not panicking, we're just, preparing. So from a trend perspective, I think the new order business is technology. The one thing that stood out that wasn't affected, any business that had e-commerce was not affected. So if you are running a company, find ways to integrate e-commerce into your business model, and it will keep you sustainable during any pandemic.
You said quite a few things that I want to go back on, but before we go any further, tell us a little bit about what and who Road Media is and what they offer their clients.
So, we are a boutique agency. We have three purposes. Number one, we help clients increase their bottom line targeting the African American, Hispanic, Asian market. That's called customer acquisition. We help clients find new talents. That's called workforce acquisition. But we also help clients integrate suppliers into their supply chain. This piece of business, we specifically focus on veteran-owned companies because I myself is a veteran-owned supplier. So, client acquisition, talent acquisition, supply chain acquisition. Those are our three business models. So we work with Fortune 1000 companies in financial service, technology, automotive, insurance, and telecom. Those are specific industry.
So one of the things that you said a little while ago is that you all as a business pivot roughly or change your direction every 20 months. And so what is it that what cues are you getting or what is how do you set the stage for saying we're going to do this on part of our business strategy is to change regularly? Because for some people, I don't know if that works for everyone, but no. Tell us how it works for you and why it's important for you to change as regularly or as often as you do.
Well, they don't necessarily have to change their business model per se, but they have to look at market trends. Because, for example, let's go with events. We didn't change. We pivoted we still did events, but we pivoted from in-person, from live to virtual. So in your same business line, look how the root can branch off. Look how the lines you gotta constantly looking at ways within your brand DNA to service your customers, because your customers, they are evolving 10 times the speed of small business because they have the resources. They're constantly bringing out new lines of products. Are you able to serve those customers?
So talk about, so I think that's interesting, right? Because it's not just about changing the direction of how you do business, but it could be just introducing new lines of products. And like you said, it's really easy for corporations to do it because they do have the resources and the talent to be able to do the money, to be able to do that all level of business. We had an interesting conversation offline when you said, it was one of the reasons that there are a number of businesses that have done well, but when you look at one category of businesses, it was the restaurants. And I'd like you to expound a little bit more on what we were saying in terms of restaurants. They weren't able to pivot, but what were some of the challenges you think that restaurants experienced?
A lot of restaurants didn't have a technology infrastructure in place. For example, something simple as DoorDash, Uber Eats. A lot of them would not use that technology to offer delivery service to their customers. And the reason why they didn't use it, they were saying that those fees were too high and it didn't make sense for them because not that they were losing money, but they were not making enough money. Whereas other restaurants even fine dining was using Uber Eats and DoorDash. So when the pandemic hit, that in-person was closed down, but now they're still able to offer delivery service, even though at a smaller scale because, they have to scale on their workforce and their supply chain, but they were still open for business. The mom and pop stores can't compete on that aspect. However, they have to. It's simple by having webs. They had no websites. It wasn't functional. They couldn't even deliver to the next door neighbor. So when you don't have that type of infrastructure in place, at the drop of a dime with any type of, it could be a fire in the neighborhood where the neighborhood is shut down. They would have gone out of business real quick. And this is not just a small business. American Airlines, a large corporation, they ran out of cash in 3 months. So it's not just mom and pop operations that doesn't have the infrastructure. Even large corporations, because they were constantly, if you're in a service business and not product business, you will always be affected by a pandemic because your product line, your revenue stream is based off service. When the service is interrupted, so is your cash flow. It happened to American Airlines, happened to restaurants.
So businesses should really think about having a service infrastructure as well as a product infrastructure.
Absolutely. I've gone to restaurants. I went to restaurants in Cincinnati. They had hot sauce. They had T-shirts. They had aprons, pots and pans. And it's a restaurant. But they have products in those restaurants. They even form a partnership with a local fisherman where they could have a private dinner on a boat. So they have, ancillary products to offset some of the things that were lacking through the pandemic. So, yeah, definitely have both a tangible product to go with your service offering.
So, and you bring up another really good point, one that we had discussed offline. The restaurant that you attended or you visited in Cincinnati, also, aside from having the products, they had a partnership.
Oh,
and so absolutely. You are really big on businesses not being solopreneurs. No,
I'm not. That's, America is made up of small business entrepreneurs. And I would say, especially the African American community, literally 9 out of 10 business in the African American community are solopreneur. And there's many reasons why, lack of capital. A solopreneur is basically a one-man shop. From the person who is a cards vendor, a solopreneur is not bad. If you're running an e-commerce business where everything is drop shipping, you don't need 10 partners, But if you're running let's say a marketing agency, and it's a national agency, a one-man shop is not going to cut it because you have to have creative people, design people, project managers, inventory. So, and when you scale, it's a bigger chance for you to get more lion's share of the revenue because corporations want us to know you're not the one doing the work. Because if something happens to you, the work stops. So they want to know who is on your team, who are your team members, and they don't have to be in the beginning employees. We create partnerships with people and organizations that do what we don't do. So we have digital partners, we have publishers, we have people who do mobile apps. So we all come together collectively, and our firm is like the lead architect. We go out there, we have the ideas, we create it, and then we farm it out to our partners. But the client is well aware that we have third-party vendors because everything is contracted. You have to be honest with your partners. Let them know that they don't care how long as the work gets done, but you have to be transparent for legal purposes. So we thrive on partnerships.
And so, you're talking about your corporate clients, which is also for small businesses, that's usually a dream goal to be able to get a corporate client. And so I like the fact that you brought that up, that they don't want to know that it's just you. They want to know that it's a team of people that can collaborate and get the work done. Because the other thing is, I don't think that people understand what it takes to be able to get a corporate client. And so a lot of times we get frustrated because we may have sent letters or we may have made phone calls and we don't get responses at the corporate level. But you and I have talked about this a lot. A lot of times people just don't understand what the expectation is. They don't understand the protocol and they don't understand exactly how to proceed to get these clients. And so if you could talk about that, that would also be helpful to our listeners.
Exactly. Thank you. Let me give you a quick case study. When I first started in corporate America. And I went to a sales meeting with a friend of mine. At that time, he had an AOL email address, not a business email address. And the client says, "Is your company AOL?" He says, "No, it's my email address." Point is, those basic things, like having a business email address, websites, a basic website with your who, what, when, how you do your business. A lot of folks don't even have that. I see a lot of people now, they got Gmail accounts. I get that. But if you can't invest in having your own business email address, because a lot of corporations, it goes into spam. When you email clients with a Gmail address or Yahoo or Hotmail, heavens forbid, those things are telling them that you're not ready for prime time. Our old boss always said, if you could do the basic blocking and tackling, I'm not saying it's going to guarantee you business, but at least they will have a conversation with you because they'll see that you are professionally ready to do business with them. And as far as corporation, a lot of folks, they can think, I can't do business with TD Bank. Yeah, you can. TD Bank got local branches. You can start local. You don't have to say, I'm going to headquarters. You go to headquarters if you're doing a national program. But if you're doing a local program, go to a local bank. You go to your local community bank, your local savings bank, your local Ace Hardware stores. Those are all corporate. You go to your local auto dealers, Ford, Lexus, those are all corporate. They are owned by a small business owner, but the corporation fund half of their project. Whatever money they spent, corporate had half of it to it. So it's not, don't look at corporate as this big giant. Look at corporation as where you at. And also, even your local doctor, your dentist, the place you buy your mobile phones, you can do business with them. If it says T-Mobile, it might be a franchise, but it still falls under the corporate umbrella.
And so what is the approach? Because I think that in terms of how we approach people is it also, like you said, having the right right type of email address or having a website. What should people, even if they're approaching businesses at the local level, what should, before they walk in and say, hey, I'd like to do business with you, what should they have in their hand? What should they be ready to offer? How should they be talking about themselves?
Well, the first thing, any company, when you look to do business with folk, you have to research the company. You have to know about who you're going to speak to, the individual who you're meeting with. LinkedIn is my number one source. Research the individual you are speaking to. Remember, we're in the business of humanity. It's always about people. We're in the people business. Don't get caught with I'm doing business with IBM. You're doing business with the person who works for IBM. And you, for all you know, your mind went to the same school, same frat, same sorrow, same birthday. If you get to know the individual, who they are as a person, why they're doing their job, how they're doing their job, what challenges they're facing, your job as an entrepreneur is to solve problems and be compensated for it. That's the only reason why we're in business. We're not in business to take days off. I mean, some of us are. Some of us, for whatever reason. But if you're an entrepreneur, I want you to think in the mind of, I am not an entrepreneur, I am a solution provider. And if you constantly focus your attention, how can I help this customer? And sometimes, even in the beginning, I might want to be a resource to them. Hey, for example, Sonia, I send you information on how to generate revenue from your podcast. That's been a resource to you, not just the customer, but to anyone. Remember, early on I said, people don't pay you for your time. They pay you for your value. What value do you bring? Because there's 20 of me out there. But the question is, a lot of us are just trying to get that buck, and there's nothing wrong with that. But are you valuable to the client? When that client moved to another company, do they call you and say, hey, Max, I'm over at IBM now. Let's see how we can do business. When you provide value to that client will always move with you. And if they leave, they will move you up to the food chain and say, hey, this is my replacement. This is one of our top vendors. He or she's awesome. Let's continue to work. So if the client leaves, the business doesn't leave with them. It just extends to them, and the company still remains to do business with you. But you have to provide value to your customers, You have to provide value to your partners. You have to provide value to your vendors. You got to provide value to your employees. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're still in the people business.
Yeah, and I'd like you to break that. Well, there are two things, because number one, if you see yourself as a solution provider, then you don't ever really have to worry about pivoting, right? Because if you're always providing solutions, then you're always just in the mindset of how am I best showing up in this marketplace?
Well,
how am I bringing value?
Well, when you pivot, though, Sonia, you still have to learn what you're pivoting into. You know, and a lot of times we get confused because, you know, all the cliche words, oh, we're pivoting. Well, some people are forced to pivot, others are not. You know, in pharma, they call it research and development. You know, so if you're in the mind of a solution provider, and I say that because it's externally, internally, because the client doesn't know you're pivoting. Internally, with your partners, you're constantly pivoting. You're constantly challenging your partners. You're constantly challenging your employees. You constantly challenge your vendors, not just about better pricing, but better product line. Because trust and believe, there's 20 of me out there. If my client called me and say, can you do this? And you know a person always says this. It was the gentleman from Golden Crest. He always says, every product line he has, because a customer asked him, did he have it? And he says, I don't have it today, but if you come back tomorrow, I'll have it. Every product line in the Golden Crest Bakery was because of a customer asking him, do you carry this product? Now, I'm not going to say that's going to work for every company, but you have to look at what your customers are asking you for, because we are in the solution providing business. And if it's feasible, if you could do it, you do it. If you can't, you make a recommendation. Well, it's not in my business DNA. However, I got a partner, a friend, Sonia up the block. I think she will be able to best serve you. And that is another way you create value to your customers. You might not be able to be the one doing the work. You refer them.
When you broke down all the different places where you should offer value, I want us to go through some of that so that people really understand that. And so one that really stood out is when you said you have to provide value for your employees. And I don't think that small businesses understand that. And they may not understand it because they are just stretched so much. So they're just happy to have, people come in that they can find, that they can afford, that will work for them. But what does that look like when you're providing value for your employees?
You almost got me there, Sonia. I got flashback. That's the inside information, guys. When I say providing value to your employees, I tell companies, big or small, it is your employees, to me, are the most valuable partner you could ever have, because they're the ones running your business. No employees, no customer. No customer.
They're the ambassadors for your business too, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, criminals. And these are some ways to create value for your employees. Number one, provide a safe space for them to work. A safe and a respectful place, a stress-free place, because stress is the mother of all disease. Be respectful to your employees. Be very respectful of them. The three, always be a teacher, not a dictator. As a leader, your job is to lead, not to destroy. Provide them with reason. If you got a problem with an employee, you actually sit them down and ask that employee, what is the problem? How is your family life? Is everything okay at home? What can we do as a company to help you? Now, to be honest with you, some employees are just diabolical.
Right.
Those employees you must terminate immediately, like a bad cold. You don't treat it right away, you get COVID-19.
Yeah.
But it all starts with respect. Respect your employees, because and consider them to be partners, because they're the one in charge of your business. Cussing them out, talking them badly, paying them poor ass salary. All it does is it creates animosity and bad, because you trust and believe those employees are speaking bad about your customer, bad to their family members. They're not being a good and brand ambassador for you. Give them a fair salary. If you can't pay them salary, give them, I call, other stuff. It could be extra vacation days. It could be gym membership. It could be, hey, I got concert tickets to Cardi B. I know I'll take it. But again, it's giving them value. On their birthday, give them the day off. No one should work on their born day. They got children in college. You know what, though? I'm a small business. I don't have much. Here's $1,000 scholarship fund to fund your child's education. Or, you know what, though? They're going to college. I'll pay for the airline ticket. There's so many ways. You got young sons. You know what, though? It's Father's Day. I'm going to take care of his haircut if you're a single mother. So many ways.
You just have to want to do it and you can be creative, was what you're saying.
It's not about the money. As in the nonprofit world, give me your time, talent, or resources. Especially if you only have a few employees. If you have 2 or 3 employees, it's much easier.
So when we were talking about partnerships before and being a solopreneur, and I think part of the reason that we have a lot of Black and brown businesses that end up being solopreneurs are for a number of reasons. We like to think that we can do it all on our own. That's a cultural thing. And then the other thing is sometimes I'd like to say it's the myth. And I'm going to say it's a myth because I think that we don't know how to be good partners. And so there's this thing that we just don't partner well with each other. But I don't know if it's so much that we don't partner well, and it might be more that we just don't know how to do it. And so I know you have some thoughts on how we can be better partners with one another.
You hit it right on the nail. In order to do, you have to know. People just say, hey, John, let us be partners. Okay, because we know each other. The first thing I've always asked folks when we're partners, how well do I know this person and what are their capabilities? Yes, my brother. He came first. But do I really know him? Is he trustworthy? Not because he's my brother, but I'm thinking from a business perspective. Can I trust him with what I've built for 15 years? That's the question I'm going to ask. Do they have the capability? Have I seen his or her body of work? Have I seen what they've done? It's like, if I see a painter's work as a masterpiece, I'm going to buy it. So first of all, any partnership must be based on trust and capabilities.
Not just friendship and I because you can still like them. You can like a person and not be a good business partner.
Absolutely. I got some great friends that when they leave my house, I frisk them. I love you, but turn your pockets out. But, and it has to be a legal structure. A partnership, when it comes to business, it has to be a legal structure. Because if it's not, and it's not that you don't trust them, basically it's saying to Sonia Lane, Sonia, I am putting my name to this document because I promised to do this so you can feel secure. If I don't trust you, you don't trust me, I'm giving you my word that I would execute these items on the partnership and I'm going to sign my name to it. So I want you to feel comfortable with that and vice versa. That's all it is.
And so you can see it because sometimes when you can have a lot of conversations and to your point that you had made offline, you may not remember
exactly
all the details of your.
I don't remember what I spoke to this morning. That's why when clients give me contract, corporations give me contracts all day long and it's 20 pages long. So, and these partnerships could be 1 page. It doesn't have to be no legal mumbo jumbo. No. It's saying is that I give you my word to do this. And I also have an out because maybe 2 years from now, I might not want to be a partner. I might want to do something else. So I give you 30 days to clean stuff up and find other partners. But it's very important that as small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneur, we have to begin to scale our business because that's how you build Fortune 500 companies. That's how you build scalable companies. That's how you employ more people in your business. And that's how you impact your community through employment and ownership. So I'm not saying the grocery store, the coffee truck. I'm talking about if you're building tangible, scalable business like a consultant practice. If you got, we talked about it earlier, you got 6 people who are coaches. Why not form a conglomerate of a coaching firm? And I'm quite sure each coach have their own niche. It could be I'm coaching business owners. I'm coaching C-level executives. I'm coaching mid-level managers. I'm coaching youth in college. We all got a different pipeline, but if you form one conglomerate and people see that, it's a win-win.
Yeah. And the expertise would be extraordinary because you've got so many great people under one roof.
Absolutely. I got some great partners. I mean, and they constantly teaching me, because if I don't know how to do it, I could do it, but why would I want to do it? It's a heavy lift because it's preventing me from doing my core business of being creative, and sales, for me, sales is it. For every entrepreneur, there's two things you're doing every day. And if you don't believe me, ask Ben and John. As an entrepreneur, I don't care if you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, mid-sized company, there are two things you do every day. Sales and marketing. All the other stuff can be done before 8 o'clock or after 7. Sales and marketing, if you're in business, is an everyday routine.
So what does that look like? Because I think when you hear sales and marketing, right, you think that, number one, you think you need an outside expert to do those things. And not to say that you shouldn't. Sometimes you do have to consider someone to come in to do the types of sales and marketing that you need. But when you distill it down to like its a basic meaning, is it really just, again, just providing the value? Just it's showing people how you provide the value?
Yes. However, it's who are you showing? Because sometimes people waste their time with people who have no interest in doing business with them, called prospecting. So I could be showing the person who comes to my door who I think is going to be a client, but I didn't profile them. I got people call me. I reach out to a client, a potential client, partner, and the partner asked me 4 questions. And he said, Max, thank you very much, but I don't think you were fit for our company. Because I didn't have 10 plus employees. I wasn't doing over 10 million a year in business. And he was not afraid to tell me it was not a fit. He's like, I'm not going to waste my time, nor do I want to waste your time. And that was the end of that. I wouldn't do that.
Not in that manner. Right.
Because every big business starts small. But that was him. But I really want to touch on the sales thing, because a lot of people have a misconception of what sales is, right? Again, it goes back to being a solution provider. A lot of times people believe that they have to do 30,000 sales calls every single day. It all depends on what type of product you have. I do 10 calls a day. I'm talking about tangible calls. I'll block aside certain hours in the morning to do my calls. But the most important thing in sales is the follow-up and the ask. A lot of people don't follow up, and a lot of people don't ask for the business. I meet people all the time, and then they wait till 6 months later on. Like I, as a 54-year-old, was a member of AARP, is going to remember meeting your ass 6 months ago. The follow-up and the ask. And I know, especially minority business owner, they're terrible with follow-ups. They only follow up when they need something. It takes them a long time to get proposals out. I'm speaking from experience. Not just one, not just 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would say 9 out of 10 minority business owners that we reach out to have terrible follow-up skills. Good product, don't get me wrong, but no one got no time to be standing around waiting for you. There's a war for business. I mean, I got people calling me 4 or 5 times a day to Hamilton. Really? And a lot of it is on automation. I'm getting emails automated like every day. Did you open your email yet? Did you? No, not us. We like drag our feet with RFPs and proposal. Like it's going to be there a month from now. You're kidding me.
How do you feel about RFPs? I know there are businesses who refuse to do them. I don't know if that might be part of the core follow-up. And a lot of times people are afraid to put all of their information out there because, I can give you everything that I'm going to do for your business or for this proposed partnership. And I don't hear from you. And then I see that you've taken aspects of my proposal and implemented it. So
there's a way to combat that. It depends on who is submitting the RFP. You cannot get around not submitting the RFP if you're doing business with the United States government.
Okay, right.
That's just not, they don't care. If you don't want to submit it, there's 35,000 other vendors who would. So it depends. Now, this is how you combat RFPs, because I'm like you. I'm not a big fan of it. So there's 2 ways to combat that. You could put a legal disclaimer in the RFP that this is property of Sonia Lean, or you could tell them, pay for it. Because some people will pay for the RFP, like, okay, in case we don't use it, we're going to pay you for creating it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that. but you have the conversation with them. And if they refuse both of them, they'll submit an RFP because they're trying to steal your intellectual property.
So you can either ask for payment of the RFP,
yep,
or you can make sure that you fortify the RFP that you send in by saying this is the intellectual property of sender.
Or have them sign NDAs, especially if you're submitting proprietary stuff.
Proprietary, right?
Like this is it's like real stuff. Like, okay, because if you give them the full body of work, and you know what happens to us all the time, people will take your idea and spin it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Change a few things here and there, and say, "Oh yeah, no." When I complete RFPs, I do not give them the full scope of work. I do bullet points.
Okay.
I don't go into detail. If they want detail, they pay me for it. They contract me. And if they don't feel comfortable contract me, I give them a way out. I say, okay, but you still gotta pay me. So after 30 days, if you don't feel like this is, but you're gonna pay for the work, they know that.
What do you see or what would you like to see for your business going into 2021? Based on everything that's happened, based on you have partnerships with major corporations. Many of them have made a number of changes in terms of how they're working with people, diversity. So as much as businesses have been scaling back, they're scaling back with the mindset of we have to have some space for diversity and inclusion as well. And so we've had a lot of conversations around what diversity and inclusion really look like for Black businesses and Black professionals. But what is it that you as a military business and as a Black-owned business see for yourself and others like you going into 2021?
Well, I think first of all, we already in 2021.
Yeah, further into 2021. You're right. Yes.
No, because we operate on a fiscal. So for this, we actually our 2020. We're actually in 2022. We're on fiscal. But here's what I want to see, because I want you to talk just a 1 minute on diversity and inclusion. I don't care for diversity and inclusion. What I care for is equity, economic equity, where corporations are legitimately doing business with Black and brown business, giving them contracts. You can hire us for all you want, but by the economic parity and the gap will only be closed through entrepreneurship. I just say this. I got a lot of white friends who are economics analysts. We cannot solve the social issues of the world, which is D&I, police brutality, until we address the wealth gap. Because it's always about the economy. It's always about the money. So what I would like to see for our business, as well as Black and I'm in the marketing business, advertising business. I would love to see, business like ours, get more contracts from corporate, fair contracts, not just I'm gonna give you the leftovers. Allow us to create programs that not diversity focused, meaning in the workforce, but focus in diverse markets. Because you could do a segment market, because a business owner is a business owner who happens to be Black. I could put 500 entrepreneurs in a room who's worth at least 1 million. That's diverse marketing, not diversity and inclusion per se. You should use the same budget you use for general market, because it's segmented marketing. Not, I'm reaching Black people. No, you're reaching millionaires. That's what you're reaching. So we want to focus on more equity to see more Black and brown business. Now, I'm glad Goldman Sachs is taking the lead and create this program. All Black-owned companies, especially Black female companies, you got to take advantage of that. The Goldman Sachs, I think, $10 billion.
Yeah.
So I got friends at Goldman Sachs. I'm not a woman. Not yet. I'm just saying. I gotta do what I gotta do.
It might be worth the switch.
But honestly, I want to see more Black people, Black-owned companies, male, female, participate in the equity process. But I also want to see more Black business begin to do the blocking and tackling, provide superior service to your customers, create strategic partnerships, constantly looking at ways to improve your business. And I hate to say this, but I don't hate to say this. Start giving back to your community in any way, shape, or form. It could be volunteering your service, because that only helps build your brand profile in the community, outside your community. And those are stuff that can be easily done. It's all internal. And then you start going after the local corporations, start scaling. And for God's sakes, ask for the money. Don't be afraid to ask for, like legitimate money, like 6 figures, 7 figures. Because it's the same conversation when you're asking a client for $5,000 than when you're asking for $50,000. It just means you got to do more.
And how do you know? Because most people don't ask for the money because they don't know what's available. Like they don't know what's actually available for them. And we see the same thing when people are negotiating salaries. Like, they'll lowball themselves because they didn't realize that that was a large amount available. So is that research, or is that mentorship? Is that a combination of all of those things? But
you know what, though, Sonia, that's a very good point. Your research, and it's something that we want to talk about, business advisors. Every individual and company must have, and I recommend having a couple of people as advisors who have built successful company, whether it's within your industry or outside your industry, because they will tell you how to avoid making those mistakes, because they will give you a real world story. You can get all stuff from GoCast and TED Talk, blah, 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 blah. But you want somebody who's going to guide you, whether it's in sales, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in finance, whether it's partnerships, whether it's custom acquisition. It's like now I tell folks, if I'm leaving corporate America, I'm not starting a business from scratch. I'm getting a franchise because it's already established. Why wait 15 years to build a business? So the model's already built for you. Just learn the industry and do the work. But it's very important that small business owners, they got to do the blocking and tackling so people can't make an excuse saying, oh, their service is poor. They don't have a website.
But explain what you mean. When you mean blocking and tackling, you mean like really holding on to the nuts and bolts of really fine-tuning the business. Is that what you mean?
The basic stuff.
The basic
stuff, like having a phone number, having a business website, having a one page, because again, people always going to research. If I said Max Hamilton from Rogue Media Group, if the client never heard of it, they're going to go to LinkedIn, they're going to Google you, they're going to make sure your website is functional. Make sure if you got content that's supposed to be daily, they can't go to your website and see content from 2018. Those are stuff that we have control over. We have control over the gateway. We have control over our phone numbers or email address. We have control over that because, trust and believe, they're going to make every excuse not to do business with us. We can't give them all the excuse. And when people say, oh, there's no money out there, grab a bank then, because I'm telling you, you see how much money these folks are making through the pandemic? Amazon quadrupled their business line. Liquor stores are booming. Mostly because of me, but they're booming. New companies are, and it's not just, there's some black-owned companies that are doing incredible, so there's money, there's blood in these streets. We've got to find a way to get it. And a lot of times we don't have to do it by ourselves. Find and seek out collaboration and partnership with people who have business that's the same line that you're trying to get to, if you have let's say a barber shop, why not bring in somebody who does nails? Create in Atlanta, and I only see in Atlanta and DC, they have like a miniature booths, enclosed booths. You got 30 barbers under one umbrella. They all share the rent. 30 barbers under one umbrella. That's amazing. You don't have to travel 30 different places to find different barbers. That's collaboration.
I was going to say, you do it really well. You have a number of strategic partners. And I think for some people, they would think that's a lot to manage. But what do you think is your strength in how you're able to manage such a broad range of partnerships?
I do 2 things. I pay them well, I leave them alone.
That's simple.
I pay
them well. Sense.
I don't nickel and dime them, not get the hookup. No. I pay them well, fair market rate, because they do excellent, and I leave them alone.
Because they know what they're doing.
Exactly. I don't ask them when this is due. They know when it's due. It's in the contract. I got 2 kids, not 10. I pay them well, but also what I do for my partners, I leverage my platform to help them get more business. That's the value proposition.
Right.
You know, it's not just about, no, they're vendors now. They're vendors and partners.
Right.
My vendors could care less about all that stuff. They want their money. But my vendors do not eat at our table. They get the money, they go home. They eat in the truck.
Right. But strategic partnership is about leveraging everything so that everybody can eat. Everybody's at the table eating.
And sometimes some of my partners get paid more than I do. Doesn't matter. What matters is everybody is eating.
So what next big projects can we expect for the rest of this year from
So
Rogue
the
Media
conference
Group?
that you're speaking at.
Oh, thank you. Because I am a strategic partner, I hope.
Yes, you are.
I don't want to eat in the truck.
So we have actually, and this is, I'm going to share this with you because this, I think I might as well start giving you some, our biggest project since we launched the company, we are actually getting involved in the Arena Football League. Yeah, we're actually going to be a part owner of a startup team in the Arena Football League.
Congratulations.
Well, you know what, though? All the formalities done already. Rest, it'll come out in around June.
Okay.
But I've been a huge fan of sports and football.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, start small. I didn't go to the NFL and say I want to be no. You'll be amazed how easy it is to get into an Arena Football League. And with our partners, very diverse partners. We're talking about media rights, and you're going to love this. The commissioner of the league is going to be a woman.
Wow, very cool.
And everything's by design. That's our biggest new project coming out. But for our bread and butter, that's going to keep the lights on. Don't forget, you got to keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on.
We are doing our 4th annual inclusive leadership summit, which you spoke at last year. But the one on June 3rd is the full conference. And then, of course, we are doing we are planning, selection has begun for the Network Journal 24th annual 25 Women in Business. So today was a drop dead deadline. Selection starts next week. And we got a great group of women. The conference is going to be in September. I mean, the award is going to be in September 16th. So we are going rogue. We're going to create a women's conference, women in business conference, the day before, and use all the women that we've honored in the past as speakers.
Oh, very cool. I was going to say, that's been a very strong franchise, Network Journal.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. It's a labor of love, but I couldn't do this without my partners. I just need 2 more of me to bring in revenue because I'm tired of paying all these people. No, I love the folks I work with. They drive me. They are so creative. They are so energetic. We fight, we argue, but when where we came from.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
That's what. Yeah. But at the end of the day, all of the partners, they're customer focused. Even at times when I'm losing my mind, they'll remind me, remember, customer focus.
Well, and I think the other lesson that anybody who knows you will get from you is that no matter, even when partnerships end, you've always been able to maintain the relationship. So you worked at the Network Journal and you were still they are still considered a strategic partner. The places where you've worked, the people you've worked with, like you've always brought them along. And so I think that speaks a lot to the strengths, your business strengths, but even your personality strength.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, you know what it is though? I've seen how friends on the other aisle do things. They do it the same way. In football, when a head coach is hired, he brings his roommates, his friends from college, his cousin's mama. I mean, That's how they do it. We don't do it in corporate America. We might bring, one person, but if we did what they do, man, we'll be some powerful crew. But we are afraid, the lack of trust in our community. But what I tell folks now is I don't tell people what they should be doing. Mm-hmm. I lead by example. I said, this is what I'm doing. I can tell folks that I love doing business with black people. I have done business with black people. I am doing business with black people because they are me. Mm-hmm. These are my tribe.
But you are defying the myth, and we appreciate that.
No, and they get second and third chance, but I only give them chances if they ask for it, because sometimes some people don't care. They couldn't care less if you never. I got vendors who never call me back. even when they didn't fulfill the contract. They never called to ask me why. I'm waiting for Byron Allen to give that contract.
That's who you want to work with. He doesn't play around. He really goes after those companies. He goes after the corporate company. But again, he has the time, the money, the resources. He can do that.
So you know something, and I want to apologize to him and you, because remember when we talked about the reason why it went after her because she was a woman?
Mm-hmm.
That was addressed in the article, and he says no, it wasn't because of a woman. It was because he understood that she was a woman. Why he did the note. If he really wanted to do, he said the men he sued her because he understood how hard she worked to get to her position. He felt a letter was sufficed. But if he was really that kind of dude, he's like, the men wish that they had received a letter. And now, because remember, he sued Comcast for $50.
Right. And for our listeners, we're talking about Byron Allen's letter to the CEO of GM and charging her as a racist for refusing to meet with black media heads, I should say.
This is where the advertising industry spends close to like $35 billion a year. And minority-owned business only get around $100 million. Across all platforms, broadcast, digital, out-of-home, print, social media, $100 million. And that's how you build scalable companies that's going to impact your community. It is through equity.
It's through equity.
In the economic prosperity of the United States of America.
Right.
And when you are in a position like Mr. Allen and the rest of those media empires, they can invest in their defense. They don't need to ask white folks to help them. He placed advertisement in Wall Street Journal. And if you know how much the Wall Street Journal costs, you're talking about $100,000 a head. So they invest in their prosperity. And we, as business owner, we have to have skin in the game. There you go.
So Max, you're exhausted. Max, thank you so much for coming on and spending this time with us and sharing your expertise and your war stories and all your great insights. I hope that it is to our listeners. We hope to have you back. We're looking forward to all of the great things that you're going to do.
Thank you very much.
Business First is hosted and produced by Sonia Aline. Associate producer, Lauren Turner. Edited by Ken Johnson. Executive producers, Omar Thompson, Andrew Kalb, and Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Business First podcast is a Mean Old Lion Media and Say It Loud Network production.